They thought they had the upper hand. They schemed, lied, and plotted against you, confident that no one would ever know. But God has been watching, and now He's about to expose them for all to see. Stay tuned. Your victory is closer than you think. Chosen ones, if you felt the sting of betrayal, the weight of others' envy, or the pain of being misunderstood, this message is for you. Today, we're uncovering how God is preparing to publicly humiliate your enemies and bring you into a season of celebration and honor. Before we begin, comment 77 if you're ready to see God's divine justice at work in your life. Let's dive in. The first sign is silent timing. Have you ever sat in the thick of betrayal, watching your enemy's plans unfold, and wondered, God, why are you letting this happen? Why does it seem like their lies and schemes are thriving while you're left carrying the weight of their actions in silence? It's a question every chosen one has wrestled with. But here's the truth. God's timing is never rushed, and His justice is never incomplete. What may feel like inaction on His part is, in reality, the precision of divine orchestration. He allows their schemes to develop fully, not because He's forgotten you, but because He's setting the stage for something greater, something undeniable. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." This verse isn't just a comforting platitude. It's a profound reminder that God's plans operate on a timeline far beyond our understanding. When it feels like your enemies are getting away with their actions, remember this. God isn't ignoring their deeds. He's watching, recording, and waiting for the perfect moment to act. His justice doesn't operate on impulse. It's designed for maximum impact, ensuring that when He moves, there will be no room for excuses, no shadow of doubt. Think about it. If God intervened the moment your enemies began their schemes, would their motives have been fully exposed? Would the depth of their deception be clear to all? No. By allowing them to continue, by giving them the space to show their true colors, God ensures that their actions speak for themselves. He allows the truth to emerge so completely that when it's revealed, even they cannot deny it. This is the silent timing of God at work. Consider the story of Haman in the book of Esther. Haman's hatred for Mordecai drove him to build gallows, plotting to destroy not just Mordecai but all of his people. For a time, it seemed like Haman's plans were succeeding. He had the king's favor and the power to execute his schemes. But what Haman didn't know was that God was working behind the scenes. At the perfect moment, Esther revealed Haman's plans to the king, and the very gallows Haman built for Mordecai became the instrument of his own downfall. God's timing wasn't rushed. It was deliberate, ensuring that Haman's evil was exposed in a way that left no room for doubt. In your own life, you may feel like you're living in that waiting period, watching the Hamans around you seem to prosper. Maybe it's a coworker who spreads lies about you, a friend who betrayed your trust, or someone in your family who manipulates others against you. Their actions hurt, and the silence from God can feel deafening. But take heart. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. God's justice is like a seed planted deep in the soil. It takes time to grow, but when it emerges, it bears fruit that changes everything. The challenge of silent timing is the patience it demands. Waiting for God to act can feel excruciating, especially when you're enduring the consequences of someone else's actions. It's tempting to take matters into your own hands, to confront them, to expose their lies yourself. But Psalm 37 verse 7 reminds us, "Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for Him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass." Your patience isn't passivity, it's faith in action. It's trusting that God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with your expectations. And here's the beauty of God's timing. It doesn't just expose your enemies, it elevates you. When He moves, it's not just to bring justice, it's to bring transformation. Every moment you've spent waiting has been a moment of growth, refinement, and preparation. Like Joseph in the pit, like David in the wilderness, like Esther in the palace, your waiting season is not wasted. It's the foundation for what's to come. Think of it like a storm. Before the lightning strikes, there's a stillness in the air. The clouds gather, The tension builds, but nothing happens immediately. Then, in an instant, the sky is lit, and the storm unleashes its full force. God's timing works the same way. The silence you're experiencing is not a sign of abandonment. It's the buildup to something powerful, something undeniable. When the time comes, the truth will speak louder than any defense you could have mounted. Your enemy's actions will be laid bare, their motives exposed for all to see. And you'll stand as a testament to God's faithfulness. The very people who doubted you, who believed the lies, will see the truth. They'll witness the power of a God who doesn't just defend his chosen ones, but does so in a way that leaves no room for doubt. This process isn't just about you. It's about God's glory. His timing ensures that when justice is served, it points back to him. It shows the world that he is a God who sees, who remembers, and who acts on behalf of his children. And when the dust settles, your story will become a beacon of hope for others, a reminder that God's justice never fails. Chosen ones, if you've been waiting for God to reveal the truth, take heart. Your waiting is not in vain. Comment timing below if this resonates with you, and stay tuned as we uncover the next sign of divine justice. The second sign is self-inflicted downfall. Darkness has a way of destroying itself, doesn't it? Your enemies may have thought they were clever, meticulously planning their schemes, but what they didn't realize is that every lie they told, every act of deceit they carried out, and every trap they set for you was a seed of their own destruction. The very tools they used to harm you are now the instruments of their undoing. They believed they were orchestrating your downfall, but in reality, they were digging a pit they would inevitably fall into. Proverbs 26 verse 27 captures this truth perfectly. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. This isn't just a warning for the wicked. It's a promise for the righteous. It's a reminder that God's justice doesn't need your intervention. The traps they set for you will catch only themselves. Their envy, bitterness, and malice are like a fire they've kindled, one that will consume them entirely. Have you ever seen this play out in real time? Perhaps it was someone who tried to tarnish your reputation, spreading lies and gossip to tear you down. At first, it seemed like they were succeeding. Maybe people started to believe them, and you felt the sting of isolation and misunderstanding. But then, over time, the truth began to surface. Their inconsistencies were exposed, their motives became obvious, and the lies they told started unraveling. Without you having to say a word, their own actions betrayed them. That's the beauty of divine justice. It doesn't require you to fight for yourself. God allows their plans to implode under the weight of their own deception. The self-inflicted downfall of your enemies is a testimony to the spiritual principle of sowing and reaping. Galatians 6 verse 7 reminds us, "Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." Your enemies sowed seeds of harm, thinking they would reap success at your expense. But God's law ensures that those seeds will bear fruit, and that fruit will be bitter. They may have thought they were above accountability, but no one escapes the consequences of their actions. What's remarkable about this process is how it highlights God's sovereignty. Your enemies thought they were in control, carefully orchestrating their schemes, but God was always a step ahead. He allowed them enough rope to expose their true intentions, to reveal the depth of their malice, and to demonstrate just how far they were willing to go. And in doing so, he turned their plans against them. What they intended for harm, God used to bring about their own downfall. This doesn't mean watching their destruction is easy. As a chosen one, your heart may ache when you see the consequences of their actions unfold. Even though they wronged you, you understand the weight of God's justice and the pain of reaping what one has sown. You may feel torn between wanting to see justice served and wishing they had chosen a better path. But take heart. Your response to their downfall is a reflection of your growth and alignment with God's purpose. It shows that while you are grateful for his justice, your heart remains compassionate and focused on his greater plan. Think of Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Judas thought his betrayal would lead to power or favor, but instead, it became the source of his deepest regret. His own actions led to his downfall, and he was consumed by the consequences of his choices. Similarly, the enemies in your life who have betrayed or harmed you are walking a path that leads only to their own ruin. They may not see it now, but every lie, every act of malice, and every scheme is adding weight to the trap they've set for themselves. Your role in all of this is to remain still, to trust in God's justice, and to focus on your own growth. Psalm 37 verse 7 reminds us, "Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass." Your patience and faith are powerful. They allow God to work without interference, ensuring that the justice he delivers is complete and undeniable. This self-inflicted downfall also serves a greater purpose in your journey. It teaches you to rely on God, to trust that his timing and justice are perfect, even when it feels like nothing is happening. It refines your character, teaching you patience, humility, and resilience. And perhaps most importantly, it frees you from the burden of revenge. You don't need to fight back, defend yourself, or prove anything to anyone. God is your defender, and his justice speaks louder than any words you could say. Chosen ones, if you've ever witnessed someone trip over the very traps they set for you, you know how powerful this truth is. Comment "downfall" below if this resonates with your journey. And remember, this is just the beginning. God's justice doesn't end with their downfall, it leads to your elevation. Stay with me as we explore the next sign of divine justice and uncover how your stillness becomes a weapon in the hands of a righteous God. Your victory is closer than you think. We've seen how God's timing and their own actions are setting the stage, but the next signs reveal just how public and undeniable this justice will be. Stay with me. If this resonates with your journey, hit the super thanks button and activate all notifications so you never miss a message like this. The third sign is public exposure of facades. Your enemies were meticulous, weren't they? They crafted a perfect image to the outside world, presenting themselves as kind, trustworthy, or even saintly. To everyone else, they seemed beyond reproach. But you knew the truth. Behind those polished words and carefully curated actions lay intentions fueled by envy, malice, and manipulation. They thought their facades were impenetrable, that their masks would never slip. But here's the thing about God's justice. It leaves no room for pretense. When he moves, every mask is stripped away, every hidden motive is laid bare, and their true character is exposed for all to see. Luke 12 verse 2 declares, "For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known." This isn't just a promise, it's a guarantee. God doesn't operate in half measures. When he reveals the truth, it's undeniable. No amount of excuses or justifications can cover what he has uncovered. Your enemies worked so hard to control the narrative, to ensure that others saw them as innocent while you were painted as the problem. But when God steps in, he flips the script in a way that no one can ignore. Think about the emotional toll this facade building took on you. Maybe they convinced others to see you as the villain, twisting your words and actions to fit their narrative. You might have felt helpless, watching people you cared about turn away from you, believing the lies instead of seeking the truth. The pain of being misunderstood, the frustration of having no platform to defend yourself, it was almost unbearable. But in those moments, God was watching. He saw what you couldn't. He saw their deceit, their manipulation, and their relentless efforts to tarnish your name. And he was preparing to reveal the truth in a way that would leave no shadow of doubt. When God exposes facades, it's not subtle. It's public, undeniable, and often unexpected. Think of the story of Ananias and Sapphira in Acts 5. They conspired to deceive the early church by pretending to donate all the proceeds from a land sale while secretly keeping some for themselves. To everyone else, they appeared generous and righteous, but God saw through their lies. Their facade was stripped away in front of the entire community, and the truth of their deceit was revealed. Their exposure wasn't just about their punishment. It was a lesson to everyone about the power of truth and the futility of trying to deceive God. The same principle applies to your situation. Your enemies' carefully constructed facades may have fooled others for a time, but they were never going to last. God's justice ensures that lies are temporary, while truth endures forever. Their exposure isn't just about bringing them down. It's about clearing your name and restoring your integrity. The people who doubted you, who believed their lies, will see the truth for what it is. They will witness the unmasking of deceit, and their opinions will shift as God's justice takes center stage. This process of exposure can be messy, and it's not always easy to watch. When God removes the masks, what's revealed isn't pretty. The darkness that lay hidden beneath their actions is brought into the light, and it can be shocking to those who believed in their facade. But this exposure is necessary. It's not just about vindicating you. It's about bringing accountability and truth into spaces where lies once thrived. Without exposure, there can be no transformation, no reckoning, and no path forward for the people involved. This unmasking isn't just for your benefit. It's for theirs too. By stripping away their facades, God gives your enemies an opportunity to confront their own darkness. It's a chance for them to see the harm they've caused, to repent, and to seek redemption. Whether they take that opportunity is up to them, but the exposure itself is an act of divine mercy as much as it is justice. Have you ever experienced the moment when the truth about someone suddenly came to light? Maybe it was a coworker who had been undermining you while pretending to be supportive, or a friend who acted loyal while secretly betraying your trust. When their actions were finally exposed, it was like a weight lifted off your shoulders. That's the power of God's justice. It not only clears your name, but also restores your peace. This exposure also serves a greater purpose in your spiritual journey. It reminds you that you don't have to fight battles in your own strength. Exodus 14 verse 14 says, "The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." By allowing God to handle the situation, you free yourself from the burden of proving your innocence or exposing the truth. You can rest knowing that His timing and methods are perfect. Chosen ones, if you're ready for the truth to come to light, comment "exposed" below. Your patience and faith are about to be rewarded in ways you never imagined. The masks are coming off, and the truth is about to be undeniable. And as we move to the next sign, we'll explore how your stillness has been the very thing that set the stage for their exposure. Stay with me, this journey is far from over. The fourth sign is your stillness as a trap. When they lied about you, when they schemed and sabotaged, you didn't retaliate, did you? You stayed silent. And oh, how that silence confused them. To the world, and maybe even to them, it looked like surrender, like you were weak, powerless, or defeated. But what they didn't realize was that your stillness was never a sign of defeat. It was a strategy. It was a demonstration of your unshakable trust in God. While they thought they were winning, they were unknowingly walking into the very trap they had set for you. Psalm 46 verse 10 captures this perfectly. "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness isn't passive. It's a posture of faith. It's the ultimate declaration that you don't need to fight for yourself because God is already fighting for you. While they were busy weaving their web of deceit, you were holding your peace, trusting that God's justice would speak louder than any defense you could muster. And now that trust is bearing fruit. Your stillness wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. It allowed their true nature to be revealed, not just to you but to everyone watching. Think back to the moments when you wanted to speak up, to defend yourself, to clear your name. The temptation to fight back was real, wasn't it? After all, their lies hurt. Their manipulation created ripple effects that disrupted your life, your relationships, your peace. And yet, you chose silence. Not because you didn't have the strength to respond, but because you knew that God's response would be far greater than anything you could say or do. It's one thing to defend yourself. It's another to let God defend you, knowing that His justice leaves no room for doubt. This is where your enemies miscalculated. They mistook your silence for submission, your stillness for surrender. They didn't understand that your restraint wasn't about fear, it was about faith. While they were busy plotting, you were praying. While they were busy spreading lies, you were standing firm in truth. And as they grew bolder, thinking you were powerless to stop them, they were actually sealing their own fate. Your stillness became their trap, and now the truth is coming to light. Consider the story of Daniel in the lion's den. His enemies plotted against him, manipulating the king into signing a decree that they knew would put Daniel's life in danger. But what did Daniel do? He didn't fight back. He didn't try to defend himself or plead his case. Instead, he trusted God and continued to pray, just as he always had. His stillness was not only a demonstration of his faith, but also the very thing that allowed God to work. And when God moved, he didn't just save Daniel. He exposed the deceit of his enemies, who were ultimately thrown into the same trap they had set for him. Your own story may feel similar. Maybe it's a coworker who spread lies about you, thinking their manipulation would go unnoticed, or a friend who betrayed your trust, assuming you'd never speak up. Perhaps it's a family member who tried to turn others against you, confident that your silence meant you had no defense. Whatever the case, their actions seemed to thrive for a time, didn't they? But here's the truth. God saw it all. Every word, every action, every scheme. And he allowed it to unfold, not to punish you, but to expose them. Your stillness gave them the opportunity to fully reveal their intentions. And now, their actions are coming back to haunt them. The power of stillness lies in its ability to shift the burden from your shoulders to God's. By choosing not to engage, you let go of the need to control the outcome and allowed God to take over. Exodus 14 verse 14 reminds us, "The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." That's exactly what you did. You held your peace, and now the battle is his. And when God fights for you, the victory is always complete. Your stillness also serves as a witness to those around you. People may have watched the situation unfold, wondering why you didn't fight back, why you didn't defend yourself. Your silence likely puzzled them, maybe even disappointed them. But as the truth begins to emerge, as your enemy's schemes unravel before everyone's eyes, your stillness will speak volumes. It will be a testimony to the power of faith, a reminder that trusting God is never a mistake. And for those who doubted you, it will be a humbling revelation that you were never alone in this fight. What's remarkable about this process is how it transforms you as well. Your stillness isn't just a strategy for exposing your enemies. It's a tool for refining your character. It teaches you patience, resilience, and trust in ways that nothing else can. It strengthens your connection to God, deepening your dependence on Him and reminding you that His ways are always higher than ours. While your enemies were busy plotting your downfall, you were growing stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your purpose. Chosen ones, if your silence has ever spoken louder than words, you know the power of stillness. Comment "stillness" below if this resonates with you. And remember, this is just the beginning. Your patience and trust have set the stage for something extraordinary. We've covered how God's justice exposes and humbles your enemies. But the final sign is about what happens to you. How does God turn your pain into honor? Stay tuned. The final sign is where your story shifts into celebration. The final sign is turning pain into honor. Every tear you cried, every betrayal you endured, every wound they inflicted, it wasn't for nothing. Chosen ones, you've carried burdens that would have broken most people, but here you are, standing firm. The attacks they launched against you, the lies they told, and the harm they intended were not just random acts of malice. They were tools God allowed to shape you, refine you, and prepare you for a greater purpose. What they meant to destroy you, God is about to use to elevate you. Genesis 50 verse 20 captures this truth perfectly. "But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good." Have you ever stopped to think about the depth of that promise? The very things your enemies used to try to break you will become the reasons for your public honor and recognition. They thought they were digging your grave, but they were actually building the foundation for your elevation. Their attacks weren't the end of your story, they were the beginning of your testimony. Think back to the moments when the pain felt unbearable. Maybe it was a betrayal from someone you trusted, a loss that shook you to your core, or a season of isolation where you felt forgotten and unseen. At the time, it might have felt like the darkness would never lift. You wondered why God allowed such suffering, why He didn't intervene sooner. But now, as the pieces begin to fall into place, you're starting to see the bigger picture. Every challenge, every setback, every wound was part of a divine plan to prepare you for the honor that's coming. Consider the story of Joseph, whose brothers sold him into slavery out of envy and malice. Joseph endured years of hardship, false accusations, imprisonment, and isolation. To an outsider, it might have looked like his life was over. But God had a plan. Every trial Joseph faced was a step toward the throne, a part of the process that prepared him to become the second most powerful man in Egypt. When his brothers finally stood before him, begging for mercy, Joseph didn't just forgive them. He recognized the hand of God in everything he had endured. What they meant for evil, God used for good. And Joseph's pain became the very thing that positioned him for honor. Your story is no different. The pain you've experienced isn't wasted. It's being transformed into something beautiful, something powerful, something eternal. Every attack has refined your character, every hardship has deepened your faith, and every tear has watered the seeds of your destiny. You've emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. And now, God is preparing to showcase the work He's done in you, to elevate you in a way that leaves no doubt about His faithfulness. This transformation isn't just about vindication, it's about purpose. Your journey isn't just for you, it's for everyone watching. God is using your life as a testimony, a living example of His ability to turn ashes into beauty and mourning into joy. Isaiah 61 verse 3 promises that God will give His people beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Your elevation isn't just about proving your enemies wrong. It's about glorifying God and inspiring others to trust Him through their own storms. But let's be real, the journey hasn't been easy. There were moments when you wanted to give up, when the weight of the pain felt too heavy to carry. You questioned your purpose, doubted your worth, and wondered if the struggle was worth it. Yet, even in those moments, God was working. He was molding you, shaping you, and preparing you for a season of honor that will make every tear, every sleepless night, and every sacrifice worth it. Think about the transformation you've undergone, the resilience you've developed, the wisdom you've gained, the faith you've strengthened. These are the fruits of your trials. They are the evidence of God's hand in your life, proof that He can take what the enemy meant for harm and use it for good. And as He begins to elevate you, those who doubted you, dismissed you, or tried to destroy you will have no choice but to acknowledge His work in your life. Your pain is becoming your platform. The very things that were meant to break you are now the things that set you apart. Like gold refined in fire, you've emerged purer, stronger, and more valuable than ever before. And now, God is preparing to place you on display, not to boast, but to inspire. Your life is a testament to His faithfulness, a reminder that no weapon formed against His chosen ones will ever prosper. This process of turning pain into honor isn't just about what you've endured, it's about who you've become. Your enemies thought they were breaking you, but all they did was reveal the strength God placed inside you. They thought they were silencing you, but all they did was amplify your testimony. And now, as God begins to elevate you, your story will serve as a beacon of hope for others who are walking through their own valleys. Chosen ones, every hardship, every attack, and every tear has led you to this moment. Comment honor below if you're ready to see God turn your pain into purpose. And as we move forward, remember this: your journey isn't over. It's just beginning. The honor that's coming isn't just for you. It's for everyone who doubted, dismissed, or underestimated you. Let them see what God can do. And here's the twist: your celebration isn't just about you. It's a testimony of God's faithfulness, a reminder to everyone watching that His justice always prevails. But how will this celebration unfold? What will your victory look like? Let's dive deeper in the next video. Chosen ones, I know what it's like to feel betrayed, to wonder why God is allowing the attacks to continue. There was a time in my life when I thought I'd never see justice, but I held on to faith. And then it happened. God exposed the lies, vindicated me, and used everything I went through to elevate me to a place I never imagined. Looking back, I realized that every painful moment was part of His plan, and I wouldn't change a thing. Chosen ones, God's justice is real, and it's already at work in your life. Your enemies thought they could get away with it, but their time is up. Hold on to your faith, big celebrations are coming for you. If this message resonated, comment victory below, like, and share this video. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more prophetic words, spiritual guidance, and encouragement on your journey. Your story isn't over. This is just the beginning of your breakthrough